Wassail. So this is Tarot Workshop 4 and it's air, and this morning there is a little feather just outside. Also this card, this page of air, swords frequency, just keeps coming up. The feather is wanting to say how writing, words, speech is all part of the frequency of air, but this is something about air being in its dominance and it having to be centered in us. So it's almost like I've been a bit wary of sitting down to do this. Air's fast. I feel like the thoughts are whizzing around so fast I don't know that I can catch them. It's about this swiftness, and it is it's put me on edge, because I keep thinking I'm going to pick up a deck and start talking about it, and then so much is coming in. So first of all, they made me put the cards down in reverse order because air is the dominant energy element at the moment. Air's out there changing the frequency. It's thoughts, it's spirituality, it's sound waves, it's changing weather patterns, it's, you know, everything's being shifted and moved, and it's happening very, very quickly. But the really important part that reversing the order says is we're meant to be heading from that confusion to clarity. So it's really about finding clarity, and it's the editing suite. This is where we get the chance to look at things. Now, the Ten of Swords always begins as a kind of ending and breakthrough moment. And it is that moment of connecting to all those swords that you have in the back. It's a figure lying down. I didn't want to show this card first, but traditionally, it's a figure lying down with all the knives in the back. But because we've reversed the order, it's that energy again of turn around. This is now the clarity. Our thoughts will have clarity. Our feelings will have clarity. So we have to go into the despair. And it is very difficult, because the last few days since the emotions of cups, this is what they've been trying to highlight. Now, I'm not frightened to see deep emotions, but this is about wanting my body, my molecules, to feel the frequency of all the things that I still hold as pain, and to kind of to bathe, to sort of just allow that energy to be in my molecules. Now my normal thought process would say, that's a very dangerous frequency to allow fully in your molecules, because it can be a downhill path in the wrong direction when you're trying all the time to be lighter. So it's saying about how at the moment we're in a lightness, we're in an air energy, we're not in that heavy earth energy that's been pulling, compressing all of our molecules. It's like this is a moment when the energies will now start to open and give us clarity, but also to give us, clarity within our bodies where we have discomforts, where we have pains and things like that. It's about all of that air energy, that clarity coming into the body. And there is this sense within this Ten of Swords of just lining up, taking all of the knives out, putting them in the back of your sacred space, and just going, right, there you all are. Let's have a look at all of you. Let's feel all of you. Let's use the energy of the things we fear looking at to go in and to bring order to us. So really slip into that energy The air is offering you a chance to feel, to really look at those emotions and begin to change them. And it is also this energy of cutting through into a new inspired space. So you're editing here with this card kind of your passions, all these distorted frequencies around this card they're kind of forming a sort of burning blockage that you need to push through, an inspiration, and that's what clarity will bring. Now in this card we have Libra, balance with the sun, and we have some tools and crosses and some very sharp kind of handles on these things. But the important thing to look at in this card for me is the focus on the heart being part of this and center of the energy that you're working with. Everything's pointing towards this center, and there's 8 swords that you see around this card, and then there's 2 just cutting through to change the frequency, to push all of that distorted inspiration out the way so that the new real inspiration can flow. And that's exactly what this one is. This is clear the cobwebs. This is just feel that the feathers, this importance of just standing in your own energy and just blowing it away. There's also a really big kind of coral mushroom connection down here at the root, as if to say that there's an opening air energy, there's something flourishing within the earth as the earth's energy settles down. And move away, take your thoughts on a new flight and head in a new direction, turn around. So instead of thinking of us moving towards this 10, getting to the point where we go, oh, I'm at an ending, just accept that whatever energy you're in now has to end. So you need to look at your frequency now. And it is just holding you. You're in this place where everything's lining up now. You're getting ready to move through the air energies, working your way through to a new sense of being. And as I said, this one is a very traditional image of just, there's something that's always comes across with this, and you say, oh, it's an ending of endings card. But it's kind of like it's the beginning. You need to accept the image of it as where you're starting from. Yes, it's the ending, but it's also, because it's a 10, it's a new beginning. So that's 10s. Let's do 9s. 9s is always traditionally waking up from a nightmare. There's a picture of a person sitting up in bed. But it is, usually you talk about it as saying you have anxieties, you have nightmares. What this new energy is saying, that when this card comes along, you need to sense that it's actually waking up from the nightmare. Not thinking, oh no, I'm going to have another nightmare soon. Waking up from the nightmare, waking up from the things you feared to face so that you can move through them. So this one in the Muse Tarot, you get that sense of the flash of inspiration coming in. You have the sleeping figure at the bottom. You have this notion of your higher self or spirit, something larger than you working with you in the dream realm. There's no sense of discomfort in this. Everything's very settled and the energies are flowing. And it's in this tarot here from the Afro-Brazilian, there's this wonderful sense of line up your 9 fears. Stop putting them on the anvil, but hang them in a line so that you're ready to pick them all up and work with them. You've closed them in now. You're beginning to make form around them, which is lovely. And in the light seers, you have this wonderful sense of the waking up from the dream, from the nightmare. And one of the thoughts now has changed frequency. It's the birth of some kind of new energy. It's an editing energy on how you allow distortions to come into your dreams all the time, because you're not dealing with those darknesses in your real life. You're hiding too much from them. And it is about coming into control. This is lovely in the Good Tarot. You know, this very much this energy of being crowned in air energy. And all of the thoughts that you now have, these other crows in the darkness, we're now just all on this energy of white birds. Everything's aligning. You've picked up your thoughts. You've picked up your nightmares and you're looking at them. Because we need to move away from this energy of these two, where we're talking about cruelty and being bound. This is kind of, you know, there's a sense of, in this card, of there being no escape. It's the one part I've never quite liked about it. There are broken parts to the rope, but they're still just the two ends of the knot. So there's no sense of moving past. There's something, I've always found this card very heavy, and I guess it wants to just say that this is thoughts. It's like you've tied your ego to this, so it's only you that can work out how to undo the rope. There's no help coming in other than from yourself. And this one, because there's blood dripping, there is this sense that these wounds have been lifted out. And all of the blood that's coming off, because it's Mars in Gemini, it's kind of asking you to look at the polarity between the two things. So the darkness that was hurting, and then lifting the body up and out into the new, clearer thought processes that are coming along. So let's look at the 8. I'm going to get to the more traditional look of the card, I think, at the end. I want to talk about this card first, which is Jupiter in Gemini. It's like this energy that you separated out, this new clarity. It's coming across as, it does say interference, but that's not the energy I get. This is about clearing the interference, having clarity on the interference. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swords at the back. They are the interference, and you're bringing in 2 new lines of clarity to bring your polarity into a controllable space, an energy that you can work with, because it's about how it's like ego. So we're tied by our egos to the world. Okay, I didn't realise quite that way, but that's what's just come through. And here we're trying to get that sense of plugging now our spirit, our clarity into the earth, so that we can work out how to cut this rock free. Because the idea is you can cut the rope on that, but it's still an enormously heavy rock to deal with. And it's the ego. It's all of the things that I want to say, witness correctly and incorrectly about ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. What is our mirror ego or our mirror self? What is that tangled image that you're fighting to help get free? And the crows in this card are always, to me, unbinding. They've never appeared like they're tying you up. They're trying, spirit's trying to unbind you, because you're so good at tying yourself in knots. We all are. And, you know, there is a mirrored sense here. There is this sense of being within a sacred nest that we have to go to and witness ourselves. And in this Muse Tarot, there is that sense of beginning to untangle, you know, you're still tied, your earthly molecules are still tied, and they're not free to upgrade yet, but because the editing suite needs to work with the new cosmic air energy that's coming in to help, it's constantly this thing of lining up the thoughts we don't like to look at, editing. And then we have the Eight of Air to feel that sort of, the clarity of the air. All of those difficult swords have just become wonderful feathers that are caught, and it's about the difference of molecular weight perception, maybe. There's something about that compression on the whole of our bodies that's created such discomfort and things. Now sort of having space between it to open up, it's like, it's almost, I don't want to say you're going to get taller, but you might stand in different posture. There's something about changing a fixed posture, because this is the traditional image. She's bound, she can't see her way out of this trouble, and yet actually she just needs to walk forward. She just needs to have faith that she can walk out of this trauma somehow. But it's like it's wanting to say that this is this energy of a frequency you've been stuck in too long, not just because of your mind, but because of the cosmic influences of earth energy. It's been heavy, it's now becoming lighter. So there's some kind of opening of us on an atomic level. Energies can get deeper into our bodies and move blockages that have just been too difficult. So Seven of Swords, interesting card. It's always been a very complicated card to read. It's always thief in the night. It causes a lot of difficulty with people. I've been told to show you this one first. Well, I'll give you two together actually. So we're looking at the Afro-Brazilian and we're looking at the off, and it's Moon and Aquarius energy. And you know, Aquarian energy is very important at the moment. It's fixed air energy, and we're in this age of Aquarius where the energy is very fixed. We have to catch up with the fixed frequencies of the air energy that are coming in, and it's very transformative, and it's very much an energy of opening and aligning your thoughts to give clarity, because they're pointing around a single sword, which is that sense of the where we're heading, to the Ace of Swords. And in this deck, you have butterflies and things flapping around, transformation. There are flowers of peace at the bottom, having that sense of being at peace. Just seeing the world for its actual wooden sort of realness. Look at it without all of the kind of vague wallpapers and paints and plasterboard and all the things we put around the world to stop us seeing the real world. Just try and see the truth of what's going on, because that helps with a movement forwards. And again, it's this lovely sort of fanning out and then getting clarity, bringing all the thoughts into alignment, channeling new energies. And then these are coming in pairs actually, these cards. I forgot that when they made me lay them out. Oh, that's one of the things. They were making me do things. I thought, I'm not going to remember all this. So we have to hope it keeps coming through. This is about the exit point. Exiting towards a new frequency doesn't happen by only looking at one end of the frequency. You have to look at both extremes of the frequency. Like in the 9, when the black crows were turning into white. This is saying we have to look at both parts of this. We have to look at the shadows as well. And we're looking at where we can peg ourselves currently on a very long polarity between raw masculine and divine feminine. There's all kinds of different meeting points all the way along that, where there's different crossover energies. It's much more individual and complex where we're heading, but it is a door I don't want to say a door out, a door forwards when you've worked out how to draw in the clarity. And then this one again is talking about how the only way to achieve the exit, to move forwards, is to move step by step towards that new gateway that's opening, but with your shadows and your light. Again, it's this reference to a need for balance. It's not balanced to be scared of looking at our darkness. Look, I'm kind of at the moment, I'm not happy to look at darkness in some respects, because as I said earlier, I don't want to fall into a trap of misery, but I do need to, because of the grief that I'm working through. I'm trying very much to apply a very luminous warrior aspect, but I've still got to go and look at my damaged child, because it's part of the energy that I grew through before I got to that sort of more luminous warrior energy. So it's about holding hands and walking together with both sides of your personality, the old and the new, and just walk them through the doorway together. And then the older one will obviously change its frequency as it moves through, because you've acknowledged it and you've integrated it, but it no longer feels like it's something you're frightened of or have a fear of. Now we go on to the sixes. Sixes are the journey forwards. I quite like this card. It completely fascinates me. Santaro always talks about it as being sort of like a time-shifting card in between dimensions and things, and I completely feel that energy. For me, the reason it has this turning around energy is because the wood of the ship is facing one way, the sails of the ship are facing the other way. There's a kind of proper switch round energy, but you've switched it round in a way that doesn't seem physically possible. So to travel backwards through time, but to float in this air energy of moving back to almost pick up something or anchor your energy in something to go forwards. There's a real turning around, and that has been a bit of a theme recently, turning around, because we're in air, we're turning around. So it's this journey across dark emotions, but knowing that you're heading towards something much better. This is a very traditional image of a hooded figure and someone sort of rowing the boat. There's always, for me, the thing I have about this one is this notion that you need help. I don't think you get these frequencies in this editing suite without it being you. You have to answer your own questions. You have to paddle your own boat. Spirit will work with you. But there's something about this card that always talks about somehow some kind of, you know, the energy of death taking you across the river Styx. There's something about this card that sort of says you've reached despair, and yet somehow you're moving forwards. And I don't think that you get that. I think part of this frequency is you can own that despair, but you don't move forwards when it's the dominant frequency. And that's why I like this one in the Lightseer's Tarot, because she stands alone in this boat. And there's 3 crows there and 3 crows in the background. So she's still tied to some things that are pulling her forwards, but there's much freedom as well. And she's packed all she needs in this bag. She's whittling down these 10 of swords. She's moving forwards. Everything's being viewed, clarified, edited, and moved into a new frequency. So in that one, there is still this sense of being tied to some kind of karma. In the Muse Tarot, it's this real sense of you being helped to move past very difficult energies. This could be your higher self though, and that's often the energy I get. Sometimes I don't. Look, sometimes that card will come out and I will know immediately that this is some kind of spirit or some kind of cosmic presence that's come in. But on the whole, I like to think of it as our clarity, our full truth is way bigger than us, and we see this as a difficult journey, but actually we ourselves make sure that our ego and our presence is able to deliver itself to where it's heading. And it's about lining things up, the 6, because it's a balance frequency. I haven't been shouting about numbers earlier, I'm sorry about that. This one's about an unfinished job. This one's about seeing this old energy, this need to heal with the 4 swords and the offering from this crossover energy that was cutting and difficult, that you almost to tread on the swords to walk past. And there's this very strange doorway at the back, and there's what looks like a man and a woman, but then you suddenly realize there's this inner child down there. And there's this real sense of needing to move out from this scene. There's movement here. The air energy is calling you to come through the curtaining at the back and move into a new frequency. It's a very complicated card, the energies that can come off this one at different points. It's a lovely card. And it's got little tiny wisps of inspiration above the back. And then we have the off. It's about bringing alignment to all of your troubles, your fears, all of those things, bringing them into an alignment in your heart so that you can process them. It's almost like pulling all of these swords out, and just there's a wheel energy hidden within here. There's some kind of notion that you're exactly on the right path. It's Mercury in Aquarius. It's that energy of communication, of almost speaking your new truth to move you forwards to the next energy, to acknowledge that you're on your pathway to healing certain things that you're editing away. Now we have the 5. The 5's general energy is the clearing up after a battle, but understanding that nobody really wins. There's no frequency where someone wins. But the energy now that I get from this card is again this sense of your light energy within you is bigger than your shadows, and yet your shadows are many that need to be dealt with, but you're not supposed to keep thinking that they're difficult, uncomfortable frequencies. They are, but it's the way in which they're putting this through my head is that your shadows are all sitting quite comfortably in a kind of, yoga pose, waiting for you to approach them. They're not angry, they're not violent, they just are waiting for you to go and fix them, to edit them, to work with them. And it's like, I'm always drawn to obviously this olive branch with the light on it, and the fact that the 2 figures have different eyes. It's like the really strong blue eye, the brightest blue, is connected between the 2, but we're moving from one energy of ourselves and understanding to a new energy of ourselves and understanding. So it's a really interesting card. Sometimes I see it as a frequency that draws in, as if you're about to merge. Other times I see this card as moving outwards. But it is very much, it's a kind of grateful to yourself for realizing that you, in your true love, consciousness, energy, are bigger than your shadows. And that's the same theme here. You are bigger than your shadows. So the crows talking, you can look at this card as, oh, I can't hear. And it's the message, it's never been that before, but today it just settled into this idea that your light energy is now bigger than your shadows. Down here, there's a small figure and there's a little bit of spilt blood. Because you've got to go and face things. You mustn't fear the spilling of your own blood in a kind of thought process. I don't mean, you know, physically in the real world. But we're looking at how air is about inner work to tidy up really difficult emotions, but there's still this presence of it being in the earth. It's needing to dig into our molecules, this thought process. And there's this wonderful light coming down, and it's kind of like going, I can hear something, waking your ears, your perception. Your clarity, allowing that to come in. Spirit's really there with you, cawing on your shoulder. So the traditional image is, you know, the battle's over, no one won, no one lost. It's a frequency of acknowledging that some things we go through in life that we try and unpuzzle, that we try and edit out, and we try and assign not blame, but a behavioural pattern so that we can understand it. Sometimes it's just what was. It's an energy that had to be, that you needed to go through. And so just sometimes to acknowledge that you had to physically pass through that film or dimensional emotional feeling to be able to turn and move in a new direction. So some things just are. And that's kind of just, there is this sense in this card of just entering and just being, leaping with spirit. Just, there is an element in this card of nonchalance. That notion of it's just being, well, it just was. Let's just now, I get it, let's move to the new frequency. And then we have this wonderful one, which often when it comes out makes me think it's the Four of Wands, because the structure of the thoughts, the passions, the inspirations is larger. But look, the roof's been taken right off this. The physical, heavy 3D world home structure has been completely blown away, like in the story of the Three Little Pigs. And there's a sense of healing is completed. The Four swords, the Four, there's this real spiritual 11-11, but there's also this single sword of clarity pointing a direction, understanding where to go. And the person's walking through a doorway, yet there are no walls, but that's that notion of you can walk in any direction and you're still going to move through frequencies. But somewhere there is an invisible frequency that's your true frequency to move through. And this off one, all of the fives have pentagrams in. So it is about, again, the energy of the earth. It's actually Venus in Aquarius. So there's this real sense of aligning things so that you can actually focus your attention into the heart of your world, of where you physically live, really bringing a sense of your new clarity to the world around you. So let's move on to the Four. Four of Swords is card of healing. Nesting down with yourself. It's so gorgeous in this deck. And your heart is attached to you. It's a healing frequency. It's got a little wound on it that's been stitched up. There's this real sense of destiny, the Norns, that frequency of embroidering your life, but being able to repair. That's the key. Healing. This card is about healing, being in your own nest. She has here this wonderful runic symbol ing, which is about birthing something new, but it's not yet free from its womb. And there is something very womb, wrapping yourself in your own sacred space so that you can bathe in the changes of frequency. It's very difficult to change our frequency when we've all been rushing all over the world or to work and things like that. It's a stillness. It's a fore. We've been gifted with this moment right now to settle all of our energies so that we're untangled from so much of what was causing us confusion and get the clarity. Let the clarity in. This card's wonderful because when you turn it upside down, there's all the cosmos and there's Pluto in the background. There's a figure standing on the edge that's reflected. It's a very oneness with cosmos in the Muse Tarot. And the Four of Swords in its traditional sense is usually a knight. Now, in the old cards, you would always talk about how quite often he would hold one sword and there would be three hanging. And it was that notion of moving from the Three of Swords to the Four, adding the extra one. But we're going in another direction now. We're removing swords. So it's quite nice that all four are in the air so that they're still in a kind of static, calm, healing, reviewing phase. Very autumnal, very much about processing minerals, so very much about the body being refreshed as you refresh your thoughts. And in this one, there's the four swords laid out now. They're not stabbed in the ground anymore. They're being treated to a kind of calmness. They're not having to cut into something. They're just resting. And there's a salamander, and it's about new inspiration. It's about new creativity. It's about finding a new way to be at ease with yourself. Focusing all the attention on your own sacred lotus that needs to open. Bringing the energy in. Jupiter, big, expansive energy. The whole cosmos being drawn into everything. And it says truce, but I don't often follow his words, I'll be honest. Libra, balance, expansive balance, just being in a healing space. And then we have Four of Air. She has 3 feathers and she's reached that point now where she's going to review this thought next because it's the next one. She's in this wonderful calm space. She's healed. She just needs to decide what she's editing. She has. She's now going to work on that. So that's fours. Threes. Threes, difficult card. It is the card of heartache. It's also a very popular tattoo image that people have. This is heartache. This is how our thoughts keep going into our heart. Now, it's interesting. The cosmos reads the energy that comes from us. So when we move around in a frequency of love, the cosmos reads love. When we go around in this frequency of heartache, it reads heartache. And so what the universe does is it gives you more of the energy that you're resonating. It tries to match you to the experiences. So if you keep thinking, I'm in heartache, you keep having more and more heartache come towards you. And you have to take out those swords. You have to change that frequency. And it's very much victim mentality coming across here, and I don't want to be in a negative form of that because it's a very important emotion that we have to work with. We are conditioned to be victims of things. We're often being told that we are responsible for everything around us, and to a certain extent we are, but we can only respond within the framework of the laws because air is also the legal system. You know, it's very much about lawfulness, and our laws are not about clarity. Our laws are actually about manipulation. You know, we can use our thoughts with clever legal arguments to not actually face true justice. So this is about a deep soulful sadness that is part of a frequency that you're clearing up. It really is about coming into an alignment, this healing notion. You've moved from 10, you're down to 3. Maybe it's this notion that this one right now is that big one, that really difficult frequency, because there's an expansive cosmic energy behind with the eyes that feels like your higher self, your spirit team, everything. They've done the weeping. They've done it now. Let's move forwards, because you've gone through from 10 to here. You've been removing. Align your thoughts. Create a sacred space to do this in, this red circle that's chalked around the outside. There's a gap in it so that you can leave it. You can step out of this space. There's a new inspiration, candles around the edge, fire. There's new energy to come if you want to focus this attention, focus the energies. There's just 3 swords now. Focus that pain and see how it's helped you to grow, because you can only mend it then. And then here we have it being mended. I absolutely love this card. It's staggering how much angst and despair is in this card, but how healing this card is. That frequency of screaming with despair. I want to return now to that. That's where we started. Just connect with that angst, connect with that energy to wake you. And then you're coming on that journey. We're nearly at the end now. We just need to feel that really heavy angst and just then walk forwards so much lighter, because you've edited it, you've got there. So that's 3s. 2 of voices. Obviously I've not said voices before in this, but that's very important. That's very important. See, this is what I mean about how I'm in a furious speed of channeling at the moment, and I don't feel like I'm here with I don't feel like I'm here at all. I'm not able to kind of line my thoughts up because they're coming at me so fast. So this one, untangling. Untangling yourself from the last 2 moments of the thoughts. You've dealt with that 3 now. We're down to 2. There's, there is you, your bigger self, but somehow you've got to tear everything apart and come down to this level to move towards this new gateway. There is always this sense of being blindfolded in this card, and there was something they wanted me to, because the 2 figures have blue blindfolds. You can't see her eyes. It's like you can't see, you can't witness. But down here, that person that's just graduated, and that's really important, that they've graduated, they're going into a new cosmic flow. They have untangled their traumas, separated them so that they can actually align them. And that's coming in a minute. So look, let's just go back to the notion of blindfolded. Here, I always see these as being untangled, spirit untangling. It can sometimes, just really depending on the cards that come with it, it might say you're tangling yourself up in things you need to try and see. But she's got magic dust coming from her hand that's flowing down. It feels like she's worked her pathway. She's walked through her desert. She's facing all of her thought demons, and she's down to 2. She's just a step away from 1. This one's always has that energy of being barred, of being stuck, of being stopped, and waiting for a sense of blind justice to come in. You can't step towards these emotions, and that's not the true frequency. I always see this card as taking all the things that trouble you in decision making and reaching an energy of understanding, the clarity, and it's best shown in this card. It's not about the fact that these 2 swords are crossed. They need to cross, they need to have contact because they're 2 different extremes of something. They're two ends of the spectrum. They're the yin and the yang of the thoughts and how they fit together with each other. But it's choosing where along the scale you plant your understanding and clarity of the issue that you're dealing with. And then we have, I love this one so much. There's so many different frequencies in this one. It's about graduating. It's about your higher self and your body. It's about your old self and your new self. It's about being welcome. There's an energy of having absolutely achieved and being embraced. Spirit, the curtain of spirit is moving away to allow you into this new, clarity that is about to come. We're nearly on the ace. So the two of air here, it's about a frequency of coming into yourself, change. There's this real sense of movement. It's a weird card because sometimes, a bit like the 6, sometimes I feel like this person's facing forwards and sometimes I feel like they're facing backwards. It's that energy of turning around. If you can edit your thoughts, place your markers on your philosophical reality currently, because it will always change, because you're working on all sorts of different things. This isn't just a journey to remove 8 sort of thought processes. It's also the journey of just how you're dealing and editing one in relation to how they come out with the cards. So there's a sense of a pentacle, a light pentacle across the body. That notion that how we think, how we edit our thoughts, how we edit our emotions, how we edit our inspirations, how we bring balance and alignment to these things affects our physical bodies. I mean, that's the real thing that's constantly coming across here, because when you work through fire, water and air, you're heading towards earth. So that's the inner journey of wands, cups and swords, and you're about to step with that new understanding, that new clarity that you have into the real world and bring your new energy there. So finally, the ace. The ace is best summed up by these two. It's about you connecting yourself with clarity. This wonderful sense of clarity will allow you to move further up your thoughts, to expand your thoughts, to understand more, but also to bring those thoughts down into the real world. This is that sense of having reached a finishing line. Spirit's just waiting for you to finish that journey, turn round. In both these cards, turn and face the new reality that your clarity is bringing towards you. Absolute clarity. And this is talking about how there's a cosmic clarity that connects to an earthbound clarity, and that clarity goes through our heart chakras because we're editing emotions, we're editing our lower heart chakra, our connection to the magical world around us, and the clarity of our cosmic beingness, being connected in. And this is that notion of them being like a cosmic gift, a flow, something. These two want to just say, this is an Air Epoch. We are all being gifted with this clarity. Turning and working on it and getting greater clarity is there for everyone. And we're all being given, it's almost like we're having an upgrade in terms of, the program that runs us is being upgraded. It's getting new thought algorithms, new software that will help it to work through and defrag everything within our bodies. There's something about that change to our physical that's coming in. Anyway, I've no idea how long that is. That was also my fear, that I might not be able to plug this into a sensible time frame. So anyway, we will be moving on to Earth, which will be interesting. I've no idea, I've not been anywhere near the thought processes of Earth, but that's next. And then after the Earth one, we'll be doing court cards, so because they're complicated. Anyway, You're all wonderful people. I've enjoyed that, but I feel really frantic with all the air energy. Anyway, have a beautiful day and wassail.